Hello and welcome to my review of Somerville, a puzzle platformer developed by Jumpship, a new indie studio created by the former CEO and co-founder of Playdead, where he also served as executive producer for both Limbo and Inside. Somerville starts off like a lot of horror films. A candid shot of a quiet and remote residence shows a happy family returning home, dozing off in what seems to be another normal, peaceful night. Since there's no menu feature to view the controls, the opening scene serves as a tutorial for you to learn how to navigate your way around. Color-accented objects offer visual guides as to which items can be interacted with. The opening scene also sets the tone of the story. A solemn piano arrangement and the muted colors of dusk abruptly turns into a sci-fi nightmare. Even in the absence of text or dialogue, the events are very clear. Amidst an alien attack, you're separated from your family, and when you regain consciousness, you set out on your journey, not knowing if you'll ever see them again. As you witness civilization's final moments, you'll travel during the earliest days of a post-apocalyptic world. As you make your way across the stylish 3D environment, you'll be treated to spectacular views. Creative use of camera angles change from scene to scene that provide a nice variety of perspectives, functioning almost like pre-rendered backgrounds at times. While it worked well for the majority of the game, there were a handful of transitions that were jarring, but barring a few unpolished moments, soak in the once idyllic countryside ravaged by war, or commiserate in the intimate shelter of displaced survivors. The cinematic views showcase one of the game's strongest assets, its powerful atmosphere. This was complemented by a somber soundtrack that matched the game's tone really well. Somerville's linear experience works to keep the game moving at a steady pace. However, without the inclusion of a sprint function, there were parts I felt traversal was a fraction too slow, as your movement speed is dictated by in-game events. The controls are very simple, but you'll feel them run its course towards the end. And there were a few moments of frustration when traversal was a bit clunky, especially with a sudden camera change. The few bugs you may encounter can halt progress, but can easily be resolved by reloading a checkpoint, but this could have been avoided with a bit more time in development. With newly acquired powers, amplify a light source to melt or re-solidify alien material. Avoid certain death by hiding to stay out of enemy line of sight. The puzzles were interesting and really come into their own once you obtain new powers that work in tandem with one another, but once again falls short as you approach the end, when puzzle creativity stagnates. Story-wise, Somerville's strong and effective opening starts off on the right foot. This momentum carries throughout much of your playthrough, as there will be events that will cause you to ask more questions, which is great because it got me thoroughly invested in the narrative. However, its strength becomes a weakness as these questions will never be answered, leading to a confusing and unsatisfactory outcome. The only thing I learned from my playthrough is that the protagonist is a terrible dog owner, constantly leaving his canine companion behind. At around 4 hours long, Somerville is a short game. However, I feel if it had been any longer, the shortcomings in its simple controls and puzzle design would become even more apparent. Yet, without this extra time, its narrative remains half-baked, lacking any explanation or closure. It starts off pretty strong and even has a few cutscenes which was a pleasant surprise, but its simplicity becomes its crutch towards the end. What ultimately makes Somerville slightly disappointing is that it's missing depth in both its gameplay and storytelling. And while the camera work was pretty good, it also just needed a bit more polish. It's certainly not a waste of time though. If you liked Playdead's Inside, then you'll find this game has many similarities, but it doesn't bring anything new to the table aside from its beautiful 3D environment. After finishing the game, I think it's still worth playing, but even its fantastic art direction can't cover up its glaring flaws. Upon reflection, I couldn't help but feel I was hoping for something that was a bit more put together. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of the game and how you think it compares to his previous projects. Until next time, see ya.